Hey everyone, this is Andrew from Wrestling IQ 101, and today we're sponsored by LDM Morris, and she has a great book out called Everybody Wants to Be in the Band, about a 1970 rock band, about sex, drugs, rock and roll, and who wouldn't want to be in this band? And you can go head over to Amazon and get your own copy for $9.99.
Who better than Derek, Pat, Andrew, the wrestling crew? Man, they bout to put an end to y'all careers like a finishing move. They bout to give y'all facts on these cats that's fighting on these mats. Y'all can't see them like John Cena. Even if y'all had 20/20 vision, y'all better listen, pay attention, and take notes down, and realize that it's not your time now. And watch these three kings take the crown. Hey.
Hey, what's up? It's the Concrete Rose Sunny Kiss, and you're listening to Wrestling IQ 101.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Wrestling IQ 101. I'm Andrew, beside Pat and Derek.
Hey, what's up?
And you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Wrestling IQ 101 or at WrestlingIQ101.com. And today our house has been invaded by Marc Hauss. How are you, man?
Good, how you guys doing today?
Doing great.
So, Mark, you've had so many great matches, and I want to talk to you about the BBWF, where you have a kind of like a long-standing feud with Bull James. How was it teaming up with Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and then also facing him one-on-one?
It was very interesting to team with him. It was one of those things where you and I had this great idea to just go by Maxwell House and come out to the ring and just have a good time. And unfortunately, after wrestling him, I got some coffee thrown in his face and didn't mean to do it, but it didn't end well for us, and it was I think the quickest tag deal I've ever been in. It was not even a day. One and done. Just like a cup of coffee. You had a cup of coffee. So basically what you're saying is you had a cup of coffee with Maxwell.
Nice. Now you've been wrestling for going into 14 years now. Can you just kind of tell us, how has wrestling changed from 14 years ago to now?
At the time, it was a lot harder to get into it, and it was a lot harder to grow and get your name out there, whereas now it's perception is reality, and it's very, very interesting because professional wrestling nowadays, you can drive within a 2-hour radius and get in with the right people and become a star and get signed off with, because social media and YouTube and things like that have been such powerful tools for independent wrestlers to be able to stay close to home and still get their name out there worldwide. Whereas 14 years ago, it wasn't as easy. You really had to grind and you really had to drive town to town and put in the work. And it's not like that anymore. I feel, frankly, that the level of wrestling in terms of athleticism has increased. But I feel at times some of the psychology and the storytelling is taking a step back. And again, just the fact that wrestling seems to be a lot more accessible to the general public, whereas before you really had to work hard at it. You really had to work a little bit harder to get further in the wrestling world. So why are you not further? Why am I not further? Is it because you have great social media? You do. So why are you not any further than, say, like an MJF who has great social media? I don't know. I think it's really just breaks down to the fact that he's got the it factor that certain companies and people want, and so you're saying that people don't want you? I just don't have that factor, I guess.
So, you alluded to your social media and YouTube and everything. How did you come up with the whole house calls premise?
Back in 2015, I tore my knee to shreds, and I was afraid because, especially in professional wrestling, but mostly anything in society nowadays, out of sight, out of mind, and if you're gone for more than a week, people forget about you. And I had to find a way to keep myself relevant while I wasn't wrestling. So I decided to start going to shows and doing a house call. For me, it was just more of, you really think about it, you see see a lot of these video casts and a lot of these like WWE's finally gotten smart about it. They do the ride-alongs, they do the Total Divas and Total Bellas, they do all the backstage, behind-the-scenes stuff where a lot of times years ago, even like 4 or 5 years ago, you have people doing video casts and roadcasts, but it was them taping the wrestling shows and like fans, and it wasn't really a behind-the-scenes look. And with YouTube and all these networks, with WWE Network and New Japan Network and every network you can imagine from all these different companies, you can watch hundreds of thousands of hours of wrestling. So the content isn't what's lacking in professional wrestling. It's the humanization of wrestlers, seeing the other side, seeing the everyday struggle, seeing that they're not just quote-unquote stars, but they're people too. And so with the house call, I was able to go in and I tried to make a point of not really showing much wrestling in it and just showing what it's like behind the scenes for these endless hours of driving and grinding and seeing people and the stuff that a lot of professional wrestlers really grind through that the general public doesn't really know that we do, and how much trials and tribulations we actually go through for an opportunity to try to make it.
Really? Because when I watch the house call, it's mainly about shenanigans.
Yeah, that, you know, speaking of that, like, the house show was probably one of the funniest sketches that I've seen. How did that collaboration come about to make those episodes?
Oh, there'll be more of them. I just had to take a little hiatus while I was working on some other stuff, so I'll be coming back. It was a gentleman. His name is John Cosper. He contacted me out of the blue about 4 or 5 years ago-ish and asked me if I wanted to be in one of his books called Eat, Sleep, Wrestle. Wanted to ask about my story. I told him my story, and he published it in one of his books. And then from there, I kind of got this idea where I wanted to start doing little sketches like that just to have fun, just to kind of keep adding more to the resume. And he goes, yeah, that's perfect. I will write you some skits, and I'll get a bunch of actors to act out certain parts, and then you act out the other parts. And that kind of where it came about. We had to take a little bit of a hiatus, but we got about 15, 20 skits in the system with a lot of all the acting done. So I'm just going to pump it up. We're going to get a bunch of new content out for you.
So those weren't your real parents?
No. I've never met them in my life. You've never met your real parents. No.
Oh man. So now when you going back to the reconstructive knee surgery, Jess, can you tell us about the emotion, and because the doctors told you that you shouldn't go back to wrestling, and you've been able to come back to wrestling successfully?
Yeah, it was very hard. It was one of those things where that's all I've ever known. And I don't really know anything else. And
It's true. You're not a smart guy.
not a smart guy. So when I was told by the doctor that I really shouldn't go back, it really hit me hard, and I had to really sit down and think about it and try to get over it, and then put it in the back of my mind and just grind and see what happened and work hard. And the doctor cleared me, and I went back, and I mean, it still hurts, and I'm still stiff on my knee every day, and I'm playing on borrowed time, but I'm doing everything I can with the time that I have.
Definitely.
So you're sitting with Jackson Smart. How did that friendship come about?
Great question, guys.
You want to answer some?
I love telling the story. So many people love to hear about this story, and I figure now's a great time to tell it because, well, you asked. So it was a very auspicious occasion. I had been going to a local Big Brothers Big Sisters place to try to get a little brother, and they kept telling me that I couldn't get a little brother. So I would go back every Thursday at 2 p.m. and apply for a little brother, and they would say, you can't have one. And every Thursday I would be sad, and I would leave. Shortly after Mark's surgery, he was trying to figure out what to do with the rest of his life, and he went to Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they said, you're a great person. We want you to be a big brother. And he said to them, no, I want to be the little brother. I want a big brother of my own. And they said, well, you're almost 30.
Oh man,
Wow.
that's great.
I've never heard that before.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, that's an incredible story. But you guys do so much together. You guys travel together. How long have you guys actually known each other though?
Since shortly after Mark's surgery, when we met outside.
I'm sorry.
Are you listening? Are you
Sorry.
listening?
So, I had a question in which both you guys also experienced, and it was when the New York State stepped in and stopped the match against Jesse Brooks. Could you just walk me through that whole situation and kind of give me the play-by-play?
Sure, I can give you my side of it, and Jackson can give you his side. I know with me is that it was one of those things where I've wrestled females before, and it's never been a big deal. And went into the match looking to have a great time and have a good match out of this. And the bell rings. As soon as the bell rings again. And this guy walks up and goes, you can't wrestle each other, this match has to be thrown out, and I don't have any idea what's going on, or is this a joke? So I went out and walked over to the promoter and asked him what he wanted me to do, and they said, we don't know, and then Chris Levin, the referee, kind of went off on the promoter, went off on Mr. Orlando, and I just was kind of lost. We went backstage, and I sat a little bit far away because I was pretty upset, but I just kind of kept my distance and listened, and this gentleman goes, a man can wrestle a man, a woman can wrestle a woman, a man can't wrestle a woman, and basically what he did is he took the boxing and wrestling rule book that's, their laws, bylaws of this, so there's no interpretation of it. He goes, well, it's in the book for boxing, so therefore it's for wrestling too. And it's not right, but they ended up getting on the phone with their lawyers, and the lawyers, told him he was flat out wrong, and let us wrestle.
And that part that you mentioned about the ref was like probably one of the most incredible things, because I've never seen anything like that before, a ref reacting that way in a ring. Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, he went off, but he had his opinions, and he has no problem speaking his mind. Chris is a very outspoken gentleman. He's a firecracker.
Nice. Now, when you were younger, before you met your big brother, I heard your parents, they actually banned you from watching wrestling.
Yeah, they didn't want me watching wrestling at all, and they didn't want me getting involved in it. And then my 13th birthday, I had a sleepover all night, and I stayed up, and 3 o'clock in the morning, pulled up ECW, and I think it was the Dudley Boys versus Rhino and Spike Dudley, pretty sure, and watched it, was hooked ever since, and just continued to watch wrestling from that day forward. And my parents, as much as they tried to not allow me to watch wrestling and not be involved in it, they couldn't help it, and I became obsessed.
Oh man! So this is like your first exposure was like the most extreme and the most violent wrestling you could watch.
Oh yeah.
So you also got to wrestle a guy like Sonny Kiss, who's pretty much unique. How did your styles clash when you got to wrestle him?
There was to be really honest with you, it was no different than wrestling anybody else. It was, Sonny's a hell of an athlete.
Yeah.
And, but we had to go up there and take matters in our own hands, and Jackson Smart and I were victorious and beat Sonny Kiss. And that was really about it. It was one of those experiences that, just like anybody else in wrestling, they've lined up hundreds and thousands of wrestlers, and I've knocked them down or been beat, but knocked them all down with the help of Jackson Smart.
So, before you became Marc Hauss, you were Krieger, was your previous line. I want to know, do you have like a German bloodline? Like, how did you come?
No, literally, I was backyard wrestling, and I went by a name. It was horrible. I went by some name Psyche, something Gary State, because I didn't want to talk. I was really embarrassed, so I just became this crazy guy. And then when I got into wrestling, I was like, I have to figure out a name. I don't want to be Marc Hauss because I don't want people knowing my real name because they're going to stalk me thinking I was a star at 17.
Wait, so who ultimately made you think that you should start talking? And why did you let them convince you of that?
The company, RCW, that I started with,
that's unfortunate.
So Krieger, all of it is a German, or it's warrior in German. So I was like, that cool names when I was 17, and I was like, Krieger sounds cool, so I just became Mark Krieger, which is Mark Warrior. That's all it was. Really dumb. And then after a while, I was like, why am I using this name? Brutal Bob Evans pulled me aside after one of the ROH tryouts and was like, why are you not using Mark Hauss? Hauss is your last name. It's a great name. You can go with it. And I was like, you're right, Bob. And then I just started using my name.
And like I always felt like Barbie Blank should be using like her real name, you know, instead of Kelly. Like, I always thought that's like a good name.
Oh, man.
Barbie Blank?
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah. And speaking of, you know, German, you wrestled in Germany. Can you kind of tell us how it is, like wrestling in Germany and wrestling, you know, outside of the U.S. as compared to wrestling in the U.S.?
They're a lot more. It's hard because, like, when I went to Germany, they were a lot more. They were quieter. They were a lot more better crowds that watched it for what it was and reacted when they needed to, and that was really it. It was quite an experience. I loved it. It was funny though. Over there, everybody thought I was just from Germany. Instead of knowing I actually went over there from the United States. It was hilarious.
So did people like talk to you in German thinking that you knew German?
Some did. And then I'd have a handler that talked all the German for me. I was like, no. He's from the United States. He is a stupid American.
So at EWE, you said that you move into different companies and you make it your house. What are some companies that on the indie scenes that you plan on invading and making your house, or even further than that?
You pay me, and you give me someone of quality, and I'll be there to take over. We follow the green, and we follow the dream. Like that. That's good. But most of the green.
Yeah.
I can dream all day, but I gotta pay my bills.
Okay. Now, speaking of the green, you're like a sponsor magnet. You're just like very good at promoting yourself. Can you just tell us like what's the importance of, you know, indie wrestlers just marketing themselves and making themselves up into a brand?
I mean, it's simple and easy. It's not even for indie wrestling. It's for anything you want to do in life. You want people to know who you are. You want people to buy your product. You want people to pay attention to you and not spin your wheels and waste your time. Then you got to market. You got to brand, and you got to go out there and get sponsors. I mean, I can ask the same question to you guys. You guys want to be a podcast for wrestling, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You got to build your brand. You got to get it out there and make sure everybody knows. Like, it's a good feeling for me when I go and I get text messages from people going, hey, I just went to House of Hardcore. Never wrestled there in my life.
Nice.
I saw 4 or 5 people with a t-shirt. Oh, I went here. I went to Ring of Honor in Canada and I saw all your t-shirts. I went here. I saw this. So the good thing for me, or like, it's very humbling to me to know that I'm getting people that are constantly basically turning into a voluntary street team that keep me in the loop and take pictures for me and send me pictures of people all over that have my merchandise, that follow me, that I've never met in my life. It shows that I've done to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and can you kind of tell us about, you know, some of the sponsors that you have, American Villain and Dapper's Not Dead and JBRD? Can you kind of just tell us about those brands?
Yeah, JBRD, they do all of my t-shirts and all my printing needs. They're good local. I mean, they're all local. I like staying local and not staying as much corporate as I can. And
Think globally, act locally.
they take very good care of me, and I've liked their line. They have a lot of stuff local to Rochester where I live. And I've become friends with the owners and the gentlemen. I mean, that whole crew has just been nothing but supportive of me. They go to the shows and will always plug my stuff. And it's just a matter of, with sponsors, people don't realize is that people just expect to be sponsored by somebody and then get stuff for free, and it's really not like that. It's a matter of finding a company and a vision that you believe in and helping them grow as much as they help you grow. And we find that symbiotic relationship, and that's what I do with these three. I mean, Dapper's Not Dead, they take care of all my haircuts and all of my, some beard grooming, hair grooming, and they take care of all that stuff. They're actually working
Brazilians.
Yeah, I'm Brazilian. Clippers. So, I know pretty soon we're coming out, and Jackson and I are going to be coming out with the beard oil. It's going to be sold with Dapper's Not Dead and JBRD. It's not called Jaybird anymore. Jaybird, JBRD. It's whatever you want.
Oh,
It's their initials.
Oh, okay.
It's Jake's and Rob's initials. Jaybird.
Oh, because I thought that was Jaybird. I think you started calling JBRD.
They're both. thinking of coming out with some beard oils with them, but they just take care of me, and they've always been. American Villain was the original. They came in to some wrestling shows, and they're like, we want a bad guy. We want a guy that everybody hates and we can love, and they latched on to me, and most people do hate you. Yeah, they do. So he hooked me up, and I became the American Villain, so it just worked out really well. But they're all clothing. They all sell their own clothing brands, their clothing lines, and then they sell essentials for beard oils and pomades and hair gels and studio times and bands and tattoos. So anything you need, you can go on my website at www.themarkhouse.com and you can get quotes for any of your own merchandise. You can hit me up and I can point you in the right direction to get you some sweet sponsored merchandise or to get anything your heart desires made.
And that's Mark with a C and H-O-U-S.
H-A-U-S.
So, Jackson,
I'm a big brother of you. I don't even know his brother's name.
how
I don't do your merch or anything. What? Spit it out. Spit it out. Spit it out.
I want to know how frequently you have to get your beard groomed and how fast you go through a bottle of beard oil.
Great question. I am a personal groomer because I'm an adult and I don't need another man to trim my beard for me. I trim my beard probably every other week to keep it nice and firm. I'm currently using our patented beard oil that Mark built himself.
Oh, wow.
Legitimately spent hours with drummers and different scents and made it myself from scratch. And you guys will love it.
Yeah,
Wow.
fantastic.
That's-
And I'm actually gonna talk about the benefits of this particular beard oil because it's amazing. So I don't know if you guys know how to grow facial hair or not. But those of us that can oftentimes deal with beard drift. It's like dandruff, but in your beard. And the cool thing about this particular beard oil that Mark formulated, it actually gets rid of beard drift. And I don't say that lightly, because beard drift has been the bane of my existence. Thank you, for about a decade. And beard drift is bad. Beard drift is bad news. I had a friend years ago who only wore black shirts because he was an idiot. And he always had beard drift on the front of his shirt. And I wanted to make fun of him, but he was self-conscious about it. I'm not friends with him anymore. If I were, I would give him some of this oil because it seriously gets rid of beard drift. Not a joke, not a lie, not anything. It's amazing. It's 100%
Get
true.
some for you.
So grow a beard, buy the beard oil, get rid of the beard drift.
Nice.
That's what our ad campaign should be.
Yeah, it sounds good, actually.
Buy our beard oil, get rid of beard drift. Yeah, I like it.
So you've wrestled so many great people. Who are some wrestlers that you want to get in the ring with that you haven't yet?
No, the two that I've always
He wants to run on a train. Get a train run on it.
Good train.
But what's that called? There's a word for that in pro wrestling. It's not a train. A gauntlet.
It's a little less painful.
It's a little less sticky.
No, I want to wrestle with two that I wanted to wrestle forever, and it's two that I tell people, and they always look at me like I have 7 heads.
Be prepared to roll your eyes, guys.
Yeah, the two guys that I've always liked growing up was Goldust and Gangrel, and I want them both. I want to wrestle both.
Goldust is reasonable, but Gangrel, serious.
I used to love Gangrel.
I was going to say I thought Gangrel was reasonable and Goldust not so much.
Why? Goldust is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
I thought Gangrel.
Easily top 10. I mean, his second run right before he retired, his second run with his brother was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He's going back to the old Goldust character now.
He's still wrestling? I thought he was done.
No, he's wrestling with R-Truth as the Golden Truth.
Yeah.
And then he just turned on him, and now he's playing back as the Goldust of when he first started his career.
So he's going to stalk R-Truth?
The whole thing where he it's Shattered Dreams again.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That match with him and Piper, that street fight match, was so good.
It's one of the greatest matches
Did you
ever.
see Cody Rhodes defending Goldust on Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like that was
Why
awesome
would you have
because
to defend Goldust? What happened?
Someone called his brother a jobber, and then he turned around and goes,
he's won
"One of the
IC
greatest
titles.
superstar professional world of all athletes," and then the dude shut up. Amazing.
Yeah, he just told him to shut up on Twitter. That was awesome.
And the dude apologized.
I I thought Gangrel had like such a great entrance when he came in with like the cup of blood, and he did like the spit, the Triple H spit. That was awesome. I used to love that guy.
And those are cool. I like those choices actually.
You can still love it.
Yeah. It's not what I would expect.
No one does.
All right, so besides that, I mean, you've worked with, you know, a list of who's who. Who were some of, if not, you know, your favorite person to work with?
Jackson Smart, obviously. Mike Law, obviously. I can list off of who's who. I mean, I can list pretty cool. I like working Total Bob. I like working Homestead. I like working Paul London. I like working
London's so awesome, dude.
Yeah, I like working Sean Collar. I like working. I just worked a really good match with Brandon Thurston the other day. I had a really fun time with Nick Ando today. Hurricane was fun.
Robbie E's always a blast. Robbie E's always a blast.
Robbie Easy. 75,000 times I've worked them. It's fantastic. I mean, they're all really good. I can't really pick out some of my favorites. I mean, I've enjoyed most of my career in terms of wrestling. There's maybe a handful of guys who were very untrained and very unsafe that but sometimes you're going to get some bad apples.
Yeah, how many times have you been injured by poorly and undertrained wrestlers?
My knee, twice, meniscus, the tear, probably concussions, bumps and bruises, my back.
Didn't you get messed up in Canada?
That was my back.
Oh, that was your back?
Well, my back and my knee. Well, that's just terrible.
Oh, I was just thinking mainly the Canada guy. I can't know the kid. Because I remember that was big.
Yeah.
So, you know, you mentioned that there's these like poorly trained wrestlers that do more harm than good. How do you feel that you can prevent these guys getting into the business? Is there a way that a system can be put in place to make like checks and balances?
That's the thing about pro wrestling, man. Don't want to prevent anybody from getting into pro wrestling because then it becomes less fun for everyone. The best thing about pro wrestling is that pro wrestling is available for people who want to do whatever they want to do. If you want to be a weekend warrior once a month, you're the star of your tiny town, and you only work locally. I know what they're trying to say, but I'm going to get around to that. And that's the cool thing about pro wrestling, especially indie pro wrestling, is if you want to be a guy that just wrestles once a month, you can do that. If you want to be the best guy ever, you can do that. If you want to work at a bunch of different companies, you can. You just got to bust your ass. Now, there's a lot of guys that are undertrained and poorly trained, and it's not about keeping them out of the ring. It's about making sure that they are better trained. And that's on the trainers. That's not on the kids. And that's not, wrestling shouldn't be nearly as exclusive as it used to be. But that's on trainers. Trainers just need to get better. And if guys can't do something, they just shouldn't, the trainers, they just shouldn't get in the ring. Like the kid in Canada messed you up. You wrestled him twice one weekend at a seminar, right? Oh, and he messed you up. He shouldn't have been in the ring. But I mean, it's good that he's getting a chance to wrestle, but he needs to be wrestling someone that knows him and knows what his strengths and weaknesses are.
The biggest problem, too, is that
You're a trainer, and you have guys, you train guys that are great, and they sometimes work poorly, and they sometimes hurt people. But when you get in the ring with them, they look fantastic.
because I have to make sure they're at a point where they're ready. That's the biggest thing, is that nowadays in professional wrestling, the issue is that whether it's money reasons, whether it's greed, whether it's whatever, a lot of promoters will put guys in there for free that don't know how to wrestle as a favor for doing ring crews.
Yeah, because they need a warm body.
Instead of ponying up and putting guys that aren't worth the money in the ring. And when you do that, you put guys that travel like myself every weekend all over the place at risk of getting hurt permanently, that we can lose our opportunity or not be able to do it as much anymore because we get hurt by guys that are not. Like right now, I'm dealing with an injury where I have to really figure out what's going on. I hurt my lower back because I got hurt by a kid who was not crisp and did something wrong, and I tried to protect him, and when I protected him, I hurt myself. And now it's affecting me, and hopefully not permanently.
And that's not really on the kid, that's on the trainer, that's on the promoter. they shouldn't have had him in the ring. Correct.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a crapshoot every time you get in there.
Yeah, it's true because there's only like a handful of reputable schools that are really like. I mean, in our area, like think of it's up here. It'd be either Creative Pro, Wrestle Pro, or if you go south more, it's CZW. There's really not too many reputable schools that'll really turn you into a great wrestler.
You know, one of the schools, honestly, though, as much as people don't care about it, but Jake Gomez from Warriors Wrestling does a really good job.
Yes, yeah, Warriors Wrestling. Yeah.
I was gonna actually.
Jake's one of those guys that doesn't get enough credit. He is one of the hardest working kids in the independents and deserves a hell of a lot more than what he gets.
I wanted to also ask you about Colin Delaney, what it was like working with him.
No, it's fine. I've known him forever. I've known him since Backyard Wrestling. So I've come up with him, and we've been friends for a long time. And it's easy working him because I've known him since he was wearing teal sweatpants and wrestling me in the backyard.
What was Colin's yarder name? Really? He's always gone by his own name? Wow.
I have one line. It's my favorite line ever. I have it on tape. I'll show you sometime. We were doing something in the backyard. He was commentating the match, and for some reason he yelled, "Poison ivy is deadly if you eat it." But he yelled, "Poison ivy is deadly if you eat it." And I was like, and for some reason, for 20 years now, I still can't get it out of my head. So whenever I look at Colin, I'm like, "Hey, poison ivy is deadly if you eat it." He's like, "Shut up."
Well, I'm glad to say that next to it.
So, Mark, you have such an entertaining personality. Have you ever thought about when hanging up the boots, doing commentary or being a manager or something like that?
Sure. I would do anything. I'll do any of that. I'll keep doing skits, and commentating would be fine. And I mean, I just want to be able to do something where, I'm in the public eye and people want to watch me and care. Because the second they stop caring about me, the second I don't need to be around anymore.
You shouldn't have been around for the last year or so.
I should retire. Once you became my big brother, I should have quit.
Yeah, I tried to tell you. Bad news business. Bad news business. Heartbreak, that's what I said. I said pro wrestling's heartbreak. I said pro wrestling is heartbreak.
You lost a smile! Leave me alone! We gotta get your smile back. Can you get it back? Can you find it?
Got a smile back.
That's a hatchback. There is no trunk.
You crawled over the back of my hatch.
Oh man.
So, talking about WoW, you got in the ring with Aaron Bradley and Darius Carter. Can you talk about some of your favorite moments at performing at WoW?
Honestly, my favorite moments performing at WoW is when the company decided to throw Michael and I together because they couldn't find anything for us, and then we took that ball, ran with it, and now they can't live without us. And getting in there and beating out Homicide and Paul London, and basically taking the whole entire tag division and just, it was lost, and no one can touch us.
No. Now, when you got into the business, was there a specific moment that just triggered it and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do, and I want to be a wrestler"?
The moment that I saw wrestling for the first time when I was told not to.
Oh, that's
That was the moment that I was like, "I'm doing this. This is it," and then I did it.
Do you think if your parents were less adamant that you not watch wrestling, you would have watched wrestling?
Yeah.
You would have gotten to do it?
I probably would.
If they were just been like, "Oh, it's okay, you can be a fan."
I probably would have stayed with basketball or baseball or something that I was really good at.
Oh, yeah.
Not wrestling.
Terrible at wrestling. Probably once you tore your knee, especially baseball, there's not a whole lot of knee tearing.
No.
That,
Something I see. It's from my esophagus.
Yeah, you probably would have throat cancer or jaw.
Oh my god.
I saw also that one thing that hooked you was the way that the wrestlers could control the crowd. Can you kind of just talk about how you have used that to master the way you control the crowd?
Well, the thing is that people don't realize professional wrestling has nothing to do with wrestling. Nothing. No. Professional wrestling is 0% about the wrestling, which is hilarious. It's kind of like giving those juice drinks where it's 0% juice in it. That's kind of like professional wrestling.
It's American cheese. It's cheese movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Cheese wins of sports.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, good. We're good today. We're on point. But it's about moments. It's about making moments that make me believe. It's like, here, I'll ask you this one question. I ask every single one of my students this. What is the two things you remember most about WrestleMania 3's Hogan versus Andre? Tell me.
The moment
Hogan slamming Andre.
Yeah.
And what's another big moment you could think of?
Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man, the IC title.
Nope, in the Hogan Andre.
Oh, and Hogan Andre, the leg drop?
Leg drop and body slam kind of lump into one, but the entrance, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, definitely.
Do you remember the heat? Do you remember the cutoff? Do you remember the hope spots? Do you remember the falsies? I don't really remember too much of it. I love watching wrestling, but like I can't. There's some guys that can go in there, and probably you guys are probably the small percentage that can go in and like pick a date and be like June 2nd, 2014. This guy wrestled this guy. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's only Andrew. That's not us.
But like you don't remember that stuff. You remember the moments. You remember how it made you feel.
Yeah.
And that's professional wrestling. So when you go into a show, you wrestle a match. Let's say you have this 5-star match that could work on another day. You go into a crowd, the crowd wants to see funny stuff and be involved, and you give them a 5-star technical match. It could be, main eventing WrestleMania with the way the wrestling is, but the crowd doesn't cheer for it. You're not actually being a good wrestler. You're just being a good choreographer. Being a good professional wrestler and being able to go in there, it's like being a chef. You got to go in and I order a salad and you bring me a steak. You can be the best steak in the world. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
So being a good professional wrestler is being able to give the crowd give that specific crowd on that night exactly what they want and modify your style to be what they want. But a lot of guys in professional wrestling don't do that nowadays. They're like, all right, I'm going to come up with this plan and we're going to do this spot. We're going to do all of these moves. We're going to do all this cool stuff. And the crowd's going to bite. And then you get in there and the crowd doesn't care because they just want to see someone get slapped in the butt and then fall on their face. Like,
how often do you have to change your matches up in order to?
Every match. I had to change my match today.
Like, what did you change up today?
We were going to go a lot more technical, a lot more crazy spots, and we turned around and did a lot more fun, high, back and forth using the crowd. And we had to switch a lot of it up and modify it as we go, because that's the thing you do professional wrestlers, being able to switch it up and to be able to read a crowd and to use psychology to your benefit instead of just paint by numbers and hoping the crowd likes them.
What's it like being in a match with Space Monkey?
Interesting. He doesn't speak English at all, and all he wants to do is eat bananas and try to talk to me in weird monkey. And I don't really know how to. Yeah, monkey trips. Very uncomfortable, especially when you get slapped in the face with his tail. I'm more like hell.
And you don't know what he uses it for. It's not for head style, but you don't know what he's using that.
I don't know what he uses it for.
So, you talked about training before. Do you still get the same rush training people than you do getting in the ring, or?
It's a difference. I like the training. I get more of a rush wrestling. I'm always going to get more rush wrestling, but it does feel good when I watch kids that didn't think they could do it, or didn't think they had what it takes, or was told no everywhere else, get a basis with me. And when I can finally get through to certain people that didn't think they could do it, and finally getting that breakthrough, that to me is very satisfying.
One of my favorite moments in professional wrestling that I've experienced firsthand was at the School of Rochester. We used to do, I don't know if you guys still do the student shows. We used to do student shows after the shows. The shows would be Saturday, the next Sunday everybody would get up, hungover, and we'd all come in and do student shows. And there was this one gentleman who is such a sweetheart, and he is on the autism spectrum. And he's very awkward. It's very awkward to talk to him. He doesn't understand social cues. He doesn't understand body language. And it's hard for him to read people. And Mark wrestled him. And this was one of his first full-length matches in a pseudo-formal setting. And Mark made him look like $100. And Dave was so... Did I say $1 million? No, it made him look like $1 million. And Mark put him over, and Dave was so excited and so happy. Does he really? Dude, it was so awesome.
Wow.
And he did, I think he had the kilt, and he did the gimmick where he put your head in the kilt and wriggle his butt around. Yeah. And just see the look on his face. You're like, this is a guy that is shouldn't necessarily be in the ring with somebody who doesn't know him and know what his limitations.
And I'll never put him in a match if I'm not there for it. That's why I put him at the Super Show. And it's guys like that that make me smile because it's still it's one of those things that I deal with on a daily basis that Jackson helps me with, where I don't think I'm anything special. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude like anybody else. I just happen to wrestle. And to know that this kid got in the ring with me and wrestled and goes home and is like, wow, I got to wrestle Marc Hauss. And me, I'm like, dude, it's cool, man. We just got to know that that's still bothering you, or that still makes him happy to this day, really makes me happy.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
He was so happy he invited you to his wedding.
He did invite me to his wedding.
That's incredible.
Nice. Now you're training these kids, and you're helping them to ultimately reach their goals. Now, with you being 14 years deep in the game, can you kind of tell us, have your goals changed from when you first began, and kind of what some of those goals are now?
I mean, the goals right now, it's one of those things. Is first off, just make sure that I'm healthy. I'd like to make it to WWE, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm kind of getting up there, and real life is starting to kind of creep in and take over, and I'm enjoying, family life and enjoying watching other kids train and get better. And that's one of those things where I'm just going to take it day by day, kind of reevaluate to see what the future might hold. Because I've done, and my only goal in professional wrestling since I was a child was just to wrestle, and I got to do it. So anything else is icing on the cake.
Hey, Mark, before we get going, can you tell people where they could find you on social media? And Jackson, too, can you tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me anywhere at the Marc Hauss, and that's TheMarchHauss. My website is themarchauss.com. It's got all my links on there, but go on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I don't know, Snapchat. Snapchat, I barely use it, but it's all at the Marc Hauss, and then you can find
Jackson Smart on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
That's water.
That's what I said, Twitter. Twatter. Oh, did you set me up with a Twatter account? Oh, I gotta get on that. I should do a Tinder as Jackson Smart. I would get way too many hits, and I don't like dudes like that. I'm fantastic there. But yeah, I'm the Jackson Smart. That's THE Jackson Smart. I'm glad you said that.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out and talking to us, answering our questions. And for us,
it was your pleasure. I enjoyed it. I got to share my love for Goldust and fucking Gangrel. I love Gangrel as a person. He seems like such a nice guy.
Nice. And for us, we're Wrestling IQ 101. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also follow us on WrestlingIQ101.com. And we'll see you soon.
Peace. You have just listened to the Wrestling IQ 101 podcast, powered by B Plus Player Radio.
One more for the good guy.